Another major outlet reports that Myles Garrett and the Chicago Bears could be a match made in heaven. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, the questions around should the Chicago Bears trade or franchise tag Jaquan Brisker, and why I think neither may be the best outcome in that scenario. And Ryan Poles possibly double dipping into the defensive line in a meaningful way to improve. We're talking about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get to the content for today, y'all. And Danny Parkins discussed the Chicago Bears offseason and talked about the Chicago Bears potentially making a trade for either Maxx Crosby or Myles Garrett, and said this: if the Bears can make a trade for Myles Garrett or Maxx Crosby or someone like that, those odds are going to skyrocket. If you want to bet on the Bears, I would do it now. Yeah, listen, Myles Garrett, everyone is assuming that's not going to happen, and okay, maybe not. He's just got the huge contract extension. He just loved Jim Schwartz. Schwartz has just re-signed as the defensive coordinator in Cleveland because, you know, he didn't get the head coaching job. Myles Garrett was just on Michael Parsons' podcast a couple of days ago saying that the next step for him to host a Lombardi and be a Super Bowl MVP. Don't see a real path of that happening in Cleveland. They need to tear it down. They don't have a franchise quarterback. They got $46 million committed to Deshaun Watson next year. They got first-time head coach. They got 2 first-round picks. If I was running Cleveland, I would be looking at trading the 30-year-old defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett, for multiple firsts. Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. Of course, you name a defensive lineman, the Chicago Bears are going to be reported as they should be interested in them. Myles Garrett is coming off an amazing season. Just an amazing, one of the historical seasons in NFL. You cannot take away from that. But like many people are making, and I've talked about here, it's going to be very difficult for the Bears to fit a contract like that with how their salary cap restrictions are. And even just, let's just say that the Bears, their only offseason move was making a trade for somebody like Myles Garrett. Let's just say that was their only big move, and other than that, they just do it through the draft. They still don't have enough money, right? It's such a big cap situation that they're in, they still would not have enough money to really meaningful improve anything else. So unless you think that Myles Garrett's presence alone does a whole lot for you, it's difficult. And that's where the Chicago Bears are right now. It's such a difficult place that they're in. Now, for what it's worth, every year of Myles Garrett's career, he's had double-digit sacks, other than his rookie year where he had 7. That's it. He has 125 and a half sacks in his NFL career that dates back into 2017. That's what he's been absolutely tremendous over his NFL career. But the fact of the matter is, that's a difficult needle to thread for the Chicago Bears. It just is, man. And so especially when you're talking about giving up multiple firsts on top of the salary cap restrictions that you have, that just gets into a world where I would love if the Chicago Bears are able to swing something like that. I would absolutely love it. But like I've talked a lot about, and I'm somebody that I do like to look at the full picture. I don't like to look at just the now. If the Bears were to trade that and trade multiple first-round picks before they really know that they're a Super Bowl, like, you better be damn well sure that you're a Super Bowl contender. Myles Garrett's making $24 million next year, and it caps out in 2030 where he'd be making $57 million. Like, that's how, and he's rightfully so paid. He's one of the most amazing edges in the league and one of the most consistent, right? Yeah, he's on the other side of 30 at this point in time, and it raises some concerns about when that fall off is eventually going to happen at being basically 31 years old. But at the same time, I just look at this and I say, if the Bears are going to do anything, I hear Maxx Crosby, I hear Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, you can sign outright because he is a free agent, which, you know, a lot of people have pointed out, like, that should be the more likely thing, because then you can, you know, waive some contracts, restructure, and get them. But I'd say this: if the Bears get any of those guys, like, how close do you think that really makes them to being a championship contender? That question comes down to this: how much do you believe that if the secondary is fully healthy, how good do you think that secondary is going to be? We came into last season where many Bears fans agreed that if the Bears, you know, the secondary is one of the deepest positions. They had to potentially have one of the best secondaries in the game of football, especially with the way that Dennis Allen likes to use his cornerbacks creatively. But this is what it goes to, is that there's a window in the NFL, because now you have both Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker are free agents. As a matter of fact, you have 4 safeties that are free agents. So even if you were confident in that secondary coming into the last season, there's a high probability that even keeping things all even, you're not going to have that same secondary, which raises another question. And so that's where the Bears sit themselves at right now. Like, yes, I said it after the Super Bowl. One thing was very evident to me. You improve that defensive line, I truly think the Chicago Bears can be a championship contending team. I really do think that with a better defense, this Bears team could be right there. A more consistent defense, this Bears team could be right there. And so if you believe that the Bears are one pass rusher away from being Super Bowl contenders, it makes it easy for to say, go get Myles Garrett, go get Montez Sweat, go get Trey Hendrickson, go get one of those guys to add to I said Montez Sweat. To add to Montez Sweat, go get Myles Garrett, go get Maxx Crosby, go get Trey Hendrickson to add to Montez Sweat. And, hopefully you see a year of improvement from Austin Booker, who become a depth piece at that time. Hopefully you draft a defensive tackle that can come in here and bring that run support. And, of course, there's hopefulness there. But it's just, and your linebackers, you're starting off with your linebackers not healthy either. So it's a window. And I can't wait to see what Ryan Poles really does with this, because what that comes down to, if Myles Garrett truly requires at minimum 2 first-round picks, man, that's a very difficult price to pay for even a talent like Myles Garrett with where the Bears are right now and their salary restrictions and situation. Keep in mind, you're getting ready for Caleb Williams' extension that's coming up now. We're going into year 3 of Caleb. You got 2 more seasons before you probably got to extend Caleb Williams. And so that's why it goes back to, this is a tough decision, a tough offseason for Ryan Poles. He has to get it in a spot where he really has to thread a very tight needle there to make this thing all work for the Chicago Bears this season. And I hope he's able to do it. I'm not going to count him out. Like, listen, a lot of us, and I'm saying us because I was one of the people. I didn't know if Ryan Poles was going to be able to make the improvements on the offensive line in the way that we needed him to make them. But he did. He made them. And he got some pretty solid depth pieces and somebody in the future as well to do that. And so if Ryan Poles can do it again, we'll see. He's shown himself to be very creative, very smart. But we got to see what he's going to do there. So let me know what you guys think down below. Knowing that the restriction and the needle that the Bears have to thread, when you hear some of the edges that are available, and let me link it back to this. With Drew Dahlman being available at center, I did not think that the number one center option on the market last year would come to the Chicago Bears. But guess what? Ryan Poles found a way to make it happen. So with that said, when you hear Myles Garrett, when you hear Maxx Crosby, when you hear Trey Hendrickson, what do you think a realistic possibility is for Ryan Poles to land one of those guys? And if he is able to land one of those guys, and like I said, the secondary stays a little bit healthier, do you think that that's a championship caliber defense, whether it's an NFC championship or a Super Bowl championship? Do you think that that would be enough to truly propel the Chicago Bears to being somebody that you look at going into the season and saying, this team can really make some serious noise, and this team could go deep into the playoffs? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. I'd love to hear from you guys how you feel on that one. But with that said, we're talking about the defensive line, and Brad Biggs talked about Ryan Poles and the evaluation he's doing with the defensive line, saying this: the Bears are deep into evaluation stage when it comes to free agency, the draft, and exploring what might be available via other avenues, including trades. What will it look like? When will the new league year opens March 11th? Expect the Bears to look for some combination of veterans and draft picks to fortify the defensive line and give coordinator Dennis Allen more talent, competition, and depth in the trenches. I imagine you could see one veteran acquired and a good draft for a defensive lineman. It wouldn't be a surprise if the Bears use 2 of their top 4 picks to supplement that room. Now, that sounds very much like, kind of in a different way, how Ryan Poles attacked the offensive line. And that's what you want to see from the Chicago Bears this year, is you want to see them attack the defensive line this year. And so when you look at it, if the Bears are going to use 2 of their top 4 picks on the same position group, which doesn't always happen a lot in the NFL, right? And you see what you have there, but usually you have to address a lot of picks. Let's look at what the Bears have done with defense in the past few drafts, right? 2023, we drafted Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens. Javon Dexter's still here. Zach Pickens, all right. And Javon Dexter even has some questions, even though I think if you get better edge work, I think Javon Dexter could really continue to be solid. He hasn't made that step that a lot of people wanted to see from him, even as a Javon Dexter supporter. I will say that as well, right? But that's the last time before that the Chicago Bears drafted multiple defensive linemen in the same draft was 2014. Well, not in the same draft, with the top 4 picks, where they drafted Ego Ferguson and Will Sutton in 2014. Before that, it was Daniel Manning and Devin Hester in the defensive back position in 2006. Then with the defensive tackles again with Thomas Harris and Tank Johnson in 2004. The Bears typically don't spend top 4 picks at the same position group very often. It's happened, but it doesn't happen a lot, especially not on the defensive side of the ball. So this would have to be Ryan Poles double dipping at a position group that's needed, though, but it's something that's there. And again, it would have to be Ryan Poles, again, calculating to get that done. And that's where we got to see when it happens with it. Now, it's easy to misfire on a position in the draft. And that's why Ryan Poles has to really look at this. But I would say this, the chances of misfiring twice, that's not really likely very often, right? So we'll see what the Bears are going to do there and how the Bears are going to really attack it. But I think with the draft happening after free agency, it really comes down to we're going to see Ryan Poles attack the trade market and attack the free agency first. And I think what he does there and the caliber of player that he's able to really land on that defensive line in free agency and trade market, that's going to dictate what we do in the draft. One veteran free agent, like Brad Biggs says there, that's probably the most likely scenario, especially if it's one of those guys like Trey Hendrickson, Maxx Crosby, those guys that we've talked about. And then you go out there and you supplement with what you're going to do in the NFL draft. So we'll see. It's good that the Bears still have the first, second, third, 5th, and 7th picks. I don't think we have a pick in the 4th round. Somebody will correct me on that if I'm wrong in the comment section. So this is a chance where the Bears have to really attack a position that's of desperate need for this team, because everybody's saying the same thing. That doesn't always mean that it's true, but I think a lot of people are starting to realize that if this Bears team, health in the secondary, we got to see what you do with your safeties, but health with your cornerbacks, see what you do with your safeties. If you nail this defensive line in the same manner in which you nailed the offensive line last offseason, this is going to be a team we're not just talking about having a chance to win the NFC North. We're going to be talking about a team that can win the NFC and possibly make its way to a Super Bowl. And I say possibly because a lot of things have to come together. Like, I think last season is a perfect example of how many things need to come together for you to really maximize on your season. And the fact that the Bears are able to still get 11 wins in a season where so many things went left for the Chicago Bears as far as injury in one major position group does say a lot about the talent level that's on this team. But nothing, like Ben Johnson said at the end of the season, you're not building off of what you have to start from the ground up. Every season is new because every team is looking to make improvements. So, yeah, we won the NFC North last year, but it's not anything that you can just say we're going to win the NFC North again this season. So you have to do that. All these teams are going to be looking to improve. The Bears went from worst to first in the NFC North. And best believe the teams around the division see that. And they understand now, hey, the little brother came in and punched us in the face, even though we didn't have the best divisional record. What do we have to do now? We got to go out there and we got to attack them. And so, they're going to be teams that are looking that still think that it's really their crown. The Bears just got to hold on to it for a year. So if the Bears are able to get this defensive line through the draft and free agency and trade market, if we're able to get it into a place to where, like I said, we just got to have a top 10 to 12 defense. I really believe that. With the way that our offense was last year, the way that it looks like we can make a natural progression offensively next season, if you have a top 10 to 12 defense, with that, I think that puts you right there in really good footing in the NFC. If you can be better than that, man, the sky really becomes the limit at that point for the Chicago Bears. So let's see what the Bears are going to do. I've learned not to count out Ryan Poles. Now, I'm not assuming success for Ryan Poles either, because that's just where I am with it. But Ryan Poles has shown when he focuses on a position, he can get it right. Not saying that's going to mean every time, or we're just going to assume going forward that he's just always going to get it right, but he has shown that he has the ability to get it right in that case. Now let's see if he can go out here and do it again, because this offseason is a major one for the Bears. It's hugely important for who the Bears are going to be going forward into the season and into the rest of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams' career. We got to set the tone in this free agency. We got to set the tone in this draft. The 2025 draft was a very special one. And I'd say this, usually GMs only have 1 to 2 classes like that their entire career. Not to say that they don't have solid classes. There's some GMs that have solid classes every year. But the way that we had so many rookies be able to produce for the Bears at a high level and regardless of draft position, you don't get that a lot. But can you do it again? How close can you get to getting that done again? Because now it's a completely different set of positions that we have to prioritize. So the Bears are able to do that, man. I think this could be another special season for the Bears. And I, for one, am happy that we get to cover it. Now, one of the players that it is going to affect and impact what the Chicago Bears have in flexibility is Jaquan Brisker. I wanted to put this on here because a lot of you guys have been asking about Jaquan Brisker and what's going to happen here. Jaquan Brisker, coming into the season, the biggest question for him was, can he stay healthy? That was the biggest question for him, right? When you look at what we got out of him when we drafted him in the second round in 2022, he's come in, he's been a tone setter, he's been hard hitting. He has a very high IQ, does Jaquan Brisker. It's just injuries have been something that affected him. He played in all 17 games last season. All 17 games, 93 tackles. Didn't pass 100, but 93 tackles, right? And so people are asking, well, could the Bears franchise tag him? And with the Bears in their cap situation already being there, a franchise tag for a safety is going to be around $21 million. And I think you can get him cheaper than that, even if you sign him to a 2-year deal. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Now, keep in mind, franchise tagging still gives you an opportunity to negotiate with him through July on a long-term extension. So maybe that's what Ryan Poles wants to do there. It's franchise tag him to give yourself an opportunity to negotiate with him exclusively and not have to worry about that. It just buys some time for Poles to decide what he wants to do, which could absolutely work, right? You look at Jaquan Brisker, he already is familiar with his team, has a good rapport with Dennis Allen, and he played pretty damn well for teams that secondary came apart. And him and Kevin Byard, I do think, have something special going as a 1-2 punch there where you can use one inside the box, one outside the box, and you can flip that back and forth. And so when you have something like that, what's my magic phrase? If you can avoid it, your job every offseason is to find answers to questions while not creating more questions. And so moving off of Jaquan Brisker would create another question for the Bears. Now, what the Bears, I think, are going to do before they tag him is try to review what they can get, if they can get a deal done with him, and if they have identified that they feel like somebody's going to be in the board of one of their picks that's going to be able to come in and replace the production that Jaquan Brisker brought. And maybe Ryan Poles does already have that guy in mind. But franchise tagging, I just think, is a break glass in case of emergency scenario for the Bears in this case because of how much that franchise tag could be considering the spot where the Bears are financially. Then you have the scenario of tag and trade, right? Which is something that we've seen before. You can tag them, and then if the contracts go stall, you can absolutely trade him. And so maybe that's why you also franchise tag him to preserve the asset and be able to trade him. Could you get a day 2 pick for Jaquan Brisker? Yeah. And then you would also free up $19 million in cap space to pursue a pass rush or something else. So I think those are the two most likely scenarios. Now, maybe there is something that we haven't heard about. Maybe Jaquan Brisker is willing to negotiate with the Chicago Bears on a long-term or maybe even a shorter-term, less money deal so he can prove, hey, let me get another season of health and let's renegotiate that. Maybe, right? Now, I do think a player as young as Jaquan Brisker, his agent's probably going to tell him to go after whatever is the best long-term money to add security because of his injury history. But it does raise some questions there on what could be next for the Bears also. But franchise tag and trade, or an outright contract, I don't think there's a world in which the Bears just let Jaquan Brisker walk free. I don't believe that. I could very well be wrong in that, but I just don't believe that that's going to happen. So I think you're going to have to see those things go on and mature and work its way through. So we'll see what's going to happen there. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Hearing these options for sign Jaquan Brisker outright, franchise tag him with the goal of using that extra time to negotiate a long-term deal. If you are unable to negotiate that long-term deal, that's when you use the tag and trade method to then free up some more cap space for you to maybe go after a veteran. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, last topic of the day before we get out of here, and this is just, I love not taking the victory lap, but I just love the way that our players and team is being acknowledged. NFL.com published its final quarterback power rankings for the 2025 season. And not only did Caleb Williams make the list, as he fucking should have because of the performance that he had, he sit at number 8. He dropped 20. He rose 20 spots from number 28 to number 8 on NFL.com. That's great. That's where he had him at the end of the season, and now he's the number 8 quarterback. When we talk about Caleb Williams having a legit shot at winning MVP next year with certain critiques and things that he needs to fill out in his game, but also with the fact that more eyes are going to be on the Bears, more expectations around the Bears, I tell you what, Caleb Williams is in a prime spot. Now, one thing I want to say with this is I don't want to see a shit the bed. I want to see all this offseason talk, hype, praise, and then when we get there, it's a fall off from Caleb Williams. I don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think Ben Johnson, I don't think Caleb's going to allow that. I think Caleb is very prideful in that. I think we have the offensive line that's going to keep him healthy as well. We just got to see what's going to happen. So Caleb Williams, NFL.com, ranking him the number 8 quarterback in the entirety of the NFL. Shout out to my QB, bro. Shout out to my QB. throughout all the love, all that when it comes down to this team, I loved seeing what this team could be, man. And Caleb Williams is such a big part of that and a big part of what this could be for this team. We just got to see what's going to happen, man. We got to see what's going to happen. But I'm very hype about where this team is and the trajectory that we have, and Caleb Williams is a big part of that. But Bears fans, the offseason is about decisions. Do you make a big swing and aim for greatness? Do you trust the draft, right? Do you protect the culture pieces like Jaquan Brisker as well? Ryan Poles cooked last offseason. The question is he about to cook up again this offseason? Drop your thoughts down in the comments down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.